You know what? I'm going to bring Dr. Gold on now. And I'm going to ask you, Dr. Simone Gold, welcome, first of all.
Thank you so much.
I am so excited that you're here. I was going to ask you before we get into the healthcare stuff, right? We all know in 5 days, we're going to have President Trump back. You know,
Daddy's home.
yeah. And what a lot of people don't know, and I'm going to put my headset on here so I can hear you better and myself because I'm deaf. And if I don't hear myself, I'll just get louder. Um, you, not a lot of people know this, have gone to jail for J6. And I don't think people know this. So I thought you and me can just kind of like chit chat on that
Yeah.
because, that is astounding. I don't think a lot of people knew it. I remember today when I was talking with a friend of mine and I was like trying to figure out what kernel I have to look at and whatnot for this damn Windows of Death circle. I was like, did you know I can't wait to hear her story, not what other people say, her own story of what it was like to actually go to jail for not being violent, for not burning things down, for not killing anybody, for not selling drugs. So, welcome again and happy new year. 2025 is looking to be pretty awesome.
Yes, 2025 is going to be a fantastic year. We're entering an amazing season. It's been a really tough 4 years. For me, it's been longer than that, really. I think what's more like 5 years, 6 years. We're going on the COVID saga. Yeah, so I mean, the January 6th stuff is really fascinating. Obviously I'm a doctor, but some of you people may not know that I'm also a lawyer. So the whole January 6th thing was very upsetting because I was there to give a speech on medical freedom, which is what I do. And the day when, bizarrely sideways, there was absolutely FBI agents embedded in the crowd. Where I was very peaceful until the cops threw a flashbang and the crowd very wild and frenetic. So there's so many details that people don't know. And then you take somebody like me who's obviously not violent. Nobody would ever accuse me of being violent. Why was I subjected to a violent SWAT team arrest? I don't even know if you know that, Tori, that 20 huge, FBI agents in tactical gear, broke down my door and had huge guns with laser sight beams pointed at me on my chest.
Oh my gosh.
It was worthy of El Chapo. I mean, it was unbelievable how they terrorized ordinary American citizens. And then, of course, I took a plea for a misdemeanor trespass because you cannot get a fair judge or fair jury in the District of Columbia if you're
Oh yeah,
police.
we know that. Yeah.
And by the way, I know people generally know that, but I want to remind people it's been 100% conviction of J6 defendants, 100%. So, it's a show trial like they have in the USSR. So my lawyers counseled me to take a plea, and I did. And who gets sent to prison for a misdemeanor? Yours truly. The J6ers are the only people in America that get sent to prison for misdemeanors. So I was sentenced to 60 days, and I was sentenced to a maximum security prison because, of course, that would be where you would send a nonviolent first time misdemeanor person who's a doctor and a lawyer and a mom, right? So none of this makes any sense. So I was watching the hearings today, and I'm just praying that under Donald Trump, we're going to stop this weaponization of government. They were asking Pam Bondi today at our confirmation hearings. They're so frightened, the people on the left, that there's going to be weaponization of government. And she was very hard on them. She says, no, you guys have been doing weaponization of government. That's not, that's what you guys have been doing. So I wrote all of this. My book is coming out next month. It's
Stop it.
very exciting. It's all about the weaponization essentially of government. It reads like a legal thriller. I'll have to come back on the show. It's called Selective Persecution.
Okay, what if I like promise not to share it to anyone, but can I like read it like beforehand? Because I just published my first volume, which is more, of a series of 10 of education of what everyone's been going through too. And I know that we already have it before the publication. So I would promise not to because I want to hear that. I didn't know that you were Storm. I did not know they rated you like you're some
Yeah.
criminal because I saw what they were doing to people and it was more intimidation. And today Pam Bondi's hearing was weird.
Yeah.
And Benny Johnson, Mr. J6 committee himself, is asking for a pardon. And can I ask you a question? I'll hear this out. And I think everyone's missed this. Benny Johnson, the J6 committee, utilized information and video, right, with no attribution, meaning that they convicted a lot of people with no attribution. I think the basis of the law is to confront your accuser. They actually used footage of a woman named Amy Harris, who was the only person that the DOJ allowed not to to be subpoenaed. Did you know that?
I didn't. There's so many irregularities and illegalities that it's incredible. The J6 committee was wildly they did wildly illegal things. They tampered with witnesses. Liz Cheney tampered with witnesses, and they destroyed evidence. I mean, I'm just hoping and praying that the new Department of Justice looks into all of this. They held us to some fabricated standard. When do we arrest political peaceful political protesters? We don't do that in our nation. But they did that to us. And then you had literal Congress people violating the law. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I spell it all out. This book took almost 2 years to write. It reads like a John Grisham novel, like a legal thriller, but it's well referenced. So you have all the details, all the facts. I put in transcripts from my trial. I put in stories of other women in prison. I mean, it's really a great read. You're gonna love it.
I'm excited to hear it because it's another thing when you tell the story from actually going through things. Because a lot of people you know, read things, they kind of see things and they don't realize that, hey, this is coming from a first person perspective.
Yeah,
And it's got to be horrific. Just thinking of being in a maximum security, was it a jail or a prison?
no, it's prison. So prison is
You went
federal
to the prison
and prison maximum security
for
federal
60 days?
60 days.
That doesn't even make sense. People that get 60-day sentences are usually in county jails or jails.
So when you read the book, I have so many references. So one of the references I include is what usually who usually goes to 60 days in a prison, or they're usually kind of violent people who beat up their wives, for example, domestic violence, repeat offenders like that. You don't put people like me in that scenario. I think they do it to actually cause harm to people like us. It's very interesting. People don't understand what J6 families went through. There's about 1,500 people who, most of them like me, nonviolent. A lot of them are retired military, retired police officers, and their lives were destroyed, hijacked. So I want people to understand it's not just a pardon. A pardon is like barely the beginning. There needs to be a concept called restorative justice. People have lost their livelihoods, marriages have been destroyed, there were deaths, there were miscarriages, there were children that were abused. And the stories are unbelievable. And Americans need to hear the story. They need to understand that our federal government turned itself against ordinary American citizens. And we need to come face to face with that, exactly like we did to the Japanese Americans in the internment camps in the 1940s. We did that not to Japanese Americans this time, but to conservative Americans. And we need to look that in the eye and we need to correct it. That's restorative justice. And I'm doing a lot of work on that.
Well, I have a friend of mine, Federico Klein. He was actually a Trump appointee, a Marine. He was outside in the crowd allegedly, and they didn't even have clear footage. But because he was a Trump appointee and may have been out there, they just 1 year in prison.
Yeah.
And the fear that I had, because what I was observing is those that were partaking, the criminal informants, right? Because I know we like to say, hey, there was a lot of FBI. This was a journalist operation, Dr. Gold. Like I said, Amy Harris was the only one that was not, she squashed the subpoena to provide her information. She actually worked as a journalist, get this, photojournalist or something within the United States, and she took a sabbatical. During that sabbatical, under the flag of the BBC, the British news station, she followed Enrique Tarrio. You remember that infamous video in the parking lot? That was hers. So, how did they use that as evidence when
Yeah.
she was disallowed to testify? You see where I'm going with this on a legal basis, right? That doesn't make sense. And why was she allowed to quash it and not others? Because she was a linchpin to Alexandria Pelosi. Now, in early 2021, like April, May, I had discussions with Mayor Rudy Giuliani because HBO had a bunch of footage on their website, but it was not protected. They had uploaded it. So we had ripped it in right before August of 2021. And he was like, you need to get with this person, that person. But I was a little bit wary because this was orchestrated not just by the FBI, obviously had people within the ranks to protect, but
Yeah.
but there were people that were not flying under the banner of the FBI, criminal informants, right, of the FBI, but people that were not flying under the banner of the FBI and journalists that actually instigated this. It's all been mapped out, how the groups just ran through the gates, who brought those groups, how it was orchestrated. The people were literally set up. It was a show. And, you know, when this comes out, I think a lot of people are also going to be disappointed too, because, while the narrative just goes feds, 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 yes, we had really bad people, careers that orchestrated these things to entrap them to get this on the books. I mean, we had Alexandria Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's daughter, and her husband, Michael Voss, who works at HBO, taping all of this.
Yeah.
I actually put a video on my Instagram where Melanie Weingart, a journalist, was actually friendly with all the people she was calling Trump supporters, handing them lamps and bats to break the things. They were working together. And
Yeah.
it's like, this is the most atrocious thing because maybe some of those people were throwaway criminal informants that they threw in there, and they're the ones that are getting better treatment, right? Or out. But the actual people that did nothing, do you know how many people killed themselves because of this? They took their own life.
Anyway,
How do you get that back? Where do you get restorative justice for that?
yeah. So there needs to be a lot. It's the first step, baby step, like kindergarten level, is the pardon. But there has to be, there's, for example, the financial losses we've all sustained has been enormous. In my case, not only were there the attorneys, there was the fact that I had to defend my medical license, I had to defend my law license. There's people who lost their homes, there's people that lost their businesses. The defamation's been brutal. There's people that, many people lost their homes. And the reputational damage to people makes it very difficult to get employment. I myself was put on a no-fly list. I was debanked from 4 banks, right? So these harms just accumulate, and people need to be informed of these harms, and we need to do something about it. And we'll see. We'll see what President Trump does. But we formed a group. It's called wearej6.com. We invite people to go check it out. Soon it will have a lot of personal stories of what people went through. It's not intended to be political. It's intended just to inform Americans. These are our stories. We are J6. We are 1,500 people. Your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your
Still
dad.
arresting people, though. Still arresting people. Another
There's
arrest was happening just last week.
I missed that one, but they were certainly arresting people through December. It's just outrageous. It's unbelievable. A friend of mine was arrested. I didn't even know they were there. They were a pastor and a doctor, husband and a wife, and they were arrested on a misdemeanor like 9 months ago, 6 months ago. I mean, it's ludicrous. Who arrests somebody on a misdemeanor 4 years after an event? It's
Statute of limitations, anyone? And where's
yeah,
the
yeah,
warrant?
exactly. Well, but who chases? You can't even get the cops to show up if there's been a robbery, barely. So you're getting 4 years after a misdemeanor. It's really unbelievable. I hope Jack Smith. I hope he's investigated. Like anyway,
He actually said in his report, if you saw the report that they released, that it was not an insurrection.
yeah. Everybody knows it's not
Yeah,
insurrection. That
but
was
Jack Smith wrote it. He
yeah,
actually put that in his report that there was no insurrection.
yeah. I missed that, but he's a fiction writer.
Oh, yeah, we know this. We're
Like
not even going to talk about it. It's not even his real name, right?
I actually did not know that. Is that true?
Yes, he has another name.
Yeah.
So this is a whole rabbit hole. But reading the report and seeing that Jack Smith, who went after everyone, and everyone's calling insurrection, said there was no insurrection.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was my exciting times for the last couple of years. But then since then I've turned my attention to more productive things, and yeah, and I didn't know that about you being like a second mom to this young
Yes,
girl.
yes, I'm an empty nester, and my cousins, they're American. Well, the one is, and they migrated over to the U.S. obviously because Europe's turning into uh, the future is so bleak for people there. I mean, you have civil engineers with degrees and PhDs, and they're working at like Starbucks because, you know, So anyway, I'm actually while they're in the process, she's staying with me. So I'm a mom again to a 16-year-old, and I was actually looking to get her health care, and USCIS said, well, she's getting her green card, but it's a process, right? For the child. So I wanted to get her issued. Things have changed, obviously. I thought Biden was all pro immigrant, but I remember that back in the day, if you were approved to come in, obviously through marriage, or if you're a child of someone that's an American, because my kids were born abroad, right? You just get issued a social security card when you land, right? A number. That's not the case now. So I was actually looking for healthcare, and they were like, I need a social security number. I was like, I just want to insure the child. And they were like, yeah, so they'll have to do like Medicaid and I was like, oh, I got it. I got gold care. So I was actually walking through it for her. And I was like, so if you have any questions, you get on, you ask questions, you have appointments. If you need any medicine, you can learn about education. I mean, she's pretty healthy, so it's whatever. She's a soccer player.
We want to just keep people healthy. Mostly we want to educate people. We never want to have the fear that took over the nation, in 2020 and the COVID years, where people just were so afraid that a lot of people who would have pushed back on the tyranny were leery. They weren't quite sure because their doctors, in addition to the government and the media lying to them, their own doctors were lying to them. So we never want to allow that again. So we need the American people to have access to an unbiased, fantastic source of information. So most of what we do at Gold Care is information. So we have lectures and talks and webinars and just amazing stuff and on all sorts of things. I mean, we did this amazing webinar on bird flu. The last week we did on Ozempic, the risks, benefits, and informed consent. So, like all the hottest issues where your doctor doesn't really tell you, either they're pushing big pharma, most of them are pushing big pharma, mostly they don't have time to even talk to you. So we provide all that. And then if you need to see a doctor one-on-one, you just make an appointment and usually you can get seen within a day or two. And we have doctors all over the nation. And I just encourage everybody to come check us out. It's a whole new way of what you think of with healthcare, which is completely broken. This is just user friendly, consumer friendly, and it's there for you. And by the way, it took a long time to put this together. We have like-minded independent doctors who don't answer to big pharma. They just answer to you. So come check us out, goldcare.com.
Well, I was on there, and what I found fascinating were the webinars. I had a friend of mine that was saying, "Oh, I'm getting the Monjuro," and I was like, "Listen, for me, I've had GI injury. I have a slow emptying stomach in the first place, right? And if you take this, I can tell you what the pain is doing this. And because it's medication, it could be something non-reversible. You can have like permanent damage. Like this isn't something you should mess with. Maybe you should watch a video." And it was so incredible to be able to direct people to actually ask the questions that usually they don't answer to doctors. And I've explained it sometimes, and I'm pretty sure you do better at explaining it, but people don't seem to understand that in the medical community, when you have your pharmaceutical reps and they turn up, you know, you get agreements with these pharmaceutical companies. Obviously, the doctors get samples, but then they could have agreements, kind of like they did with COVID, where they were getting paid to have so much of their percentage of their patients.
Yeah, and it's also just the whole system is set up. You only get 5 minutes with the doctor, and they're writing notes the whole time. It's so quick and easy to give you a prescription. It takes a long time to counsel someone through behavioral changes, and the attitude of most doctors is, to some extent, is here's a prescription, but then also they often leave you on a prescription for years and years and years. And people's expectation is they should take a prescription for the rest of their life. And really, that should not be the starting point. There are some situations, like, for example, if you're missing a thyroid, you do need to have thyroid replacement medicine all your life. So we're not pro, we're not con medicine. We're just saying it should be tailored to the individual. There shouldn't be an expectation that you should need a slew of medications all your life. That's what we need to get away from. We also believe in people's ability to make the best decision for themselves if they're actually given the information. So that's why we did the talk on Ozempic and Mounjaro drugs, the GLP-1 agonists. We did it because we're not saying use it or not use it. It's not such a great drug. That's the truth. But we leave it up to you after hearing all the information to make the decision for yourself. So for me, it's very exciting. It's very empowering to give the information to the patient, then let the patient decide for themselves. Most people who were listening, I think, became negative towards Ozempic. But there's some people that were like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I'll accept the risks. I'm glad to know them. Now I know what they are, but I really need help. And I think this is the right thing for me. So that's the point. Your doctor used to be a teacher, a coach. Now they're just kind of pill pushers and they're not even giving you the information. So we push back on that. We really give you everything you need to be strong in your own um, education.
Informed consent.
Consent. Thank you. Yeah.
That's basically it. We don't have that anymore. The
Yes.
doctors are like, "This is it. I don't recommend anything else," and that's what's happening. I had a friend of mine that was denied a heart transplant, and because they didn't take the COVID vaccine, and now he's on an LVAD. He's on his almost third year on an LVAD, and you know what that means.
Yeah. I'm so
So,
sorry.
yeah, and I had to advocate for him, and I advocated as hard as I can, because another thing that's difficult, and this is why I'm so grateful for something like Old Care, is navigating the health system. It
Right.
is so difficult for people to even get a straight answer.
Yes.
Get, hey, how do I see a specialist? Oh, you have to jump through this hoop and do a somersault here and a cartwheel there. And maybe if somebody who's not your doctor at your insurance may approve it, you know, navigating healthcare is extremely difficult too, aside from the fact that there's limited knowledge, not really informed
No,
consent.
right. The process, you're absolutely right, Tori. The process is so convoluted and so challenging and difficult. We've done away with that also. We've made it so user friendly. Within our ecosystem, for example, you have your appointment with your doctor and you forgot what they said, right? You literally can go back and watch the video at any time. There's no long explanation benefits. There's no like long, cumbersome doctor notes that don't say anything useful. It's all very streamlined and easy and user friendly, and it's just a pleasure. It's just a completely different experience. Yeah, the medical industrial complex. Listen, I was a complete insider. I was a board certified emergency physician for 25 years. I know it inside and out. It is not fixable. It is broken, irretrievably broken. We need to get the focus back on the patient, the doctor patient relationship.
Yeah, and doctors actually, there's a question for you. Um, if you need to see one of the doctors, is it in person or only virtual?
Yeah, it's only virtual. And we actually did that intentionally. One, it was the fastest way we could get people covered across the nation. Two, it turns out most care can actually be done virtually. Not 100%, not 100%, but probably 80% of care can be done virtually. And we can serve you very quickly, usually within a day or 2 or 3 days at most. And the third reason is we are in the process of finding doctors in all communities so that we can send you to a like minded doctor in your community. We actually didn't want to compete with local doctors who are already doing the right thing, but it takes a while to build up that network. If you've never done virtual care, I really urge you to try it because it's so much better than you might think. It is actually quite warm and personal, and they're really paying attention to you, and it's a very easy platform. So give it a shot.
So basically, um, like the future of healthcare is to empower, right, individuals to take charge. Gold Care is actually a vision of having the ability to take control of your care, and it's
Yeah.
personalized, it's holistic, and what you just explained, it's fostering trust between patients and providers,
Well,
and
and
that's
You just reminded me. I completely forgot such a huge feature. We put naturopathic doctors and allopathic medical doctors together. So you want to talk to a naturopath, you want to talk to a medical doctor, an allopath doctor. It's all good. Like we don't make them compete with each other. We don't, I was trained to think a medical doctor is, the only thing. It's not true. There's naturopathic doctors, medical doctors, they're all together. And we have a community. We have the Gold Care community, which is like a little mini Facebook where you can talk to people who have, they're all, kind of like minded, independent folks. So it's very nice. It's just like a warm, wonderful community. And honestly, your people would love it.
no, they already do. A lot of people signed up when they heard about it. I signed up, and what's interesting is it's an alternative approach to like traditional healthcare. With personalized, patient-centered care, which is key here, right? And it doesn't have the constraints of insurance companies, which we all know are a problem. Government oversight in the sense of your insurance company. We're talking, do a cartwheel and maybe we'll give you a specialist. And, these doctors that sit on insurance boards to see if they're going to approve things, to talk to you or see someone or ask the questions aren't even your physician. They have 20,000 emails of do we approve or deny to give them this medication. You know how they say, well, did you try this first? Well, you need to, but my doctor says I must do this. Yeah, well, your insurance says you got to do this. So now the insurance companies are also playing doctor. That's been on, it's a really bad problem for at least a decade right now, where, someone might be like, oh, I want to try metformin again. I want to get back on glucophage. And they're like, no, you're going to have to do this shot that lasts 10 years first and see how that goes. And it
Right.
doesn't work. And I think medical freedom and transparent healthcare practices are key. And this is the first step with this, direct primary care. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So we invite everybody. We love your show, and we hope everybody comes and checks it out. It's priced incredibly reasonably. As you know, it's $10 for an individual to join, 20 for family. You can find out what we're about. You could cancel at any time. So, we can't make it any easier than that, folks.
No, not at all. And this, and for everyone to understand, right? When you have the ability to talk to your physician or ask for alternative medications, you can actually ask these questions without fear of them putting in like a psych report. Remember Dr. Gold, how people during COVID were asking for alternative things, and there was literally a code that they would put in to label the patients that stays with them their whole life, like they're loony, because they did not want
Actually,
the vaccine.
there's actually a diagnostic code for people who turned down the COVID shot who didn't have a medical reason for turning it down. That came out in, I think it was in 2022 or 2023. And I thought that was unbelievably alarming. I mean, they might as well have had a code like, this is a person who disagrees with the government, right? Why would you need to know why somebody turned down a shot if it wasn't for a medical reason? If you turned down if turning down the shot was a medically important fact, it doesn't matter what the reason is. But the code was only if you didn't have a medical reason, such as being allergic to a component or a prior bad reaction, right? That was so alarming. That is reason enough to exit the system. So you don't know as a patient what you don't know. You don't know what the doctor's coding and diagnosing. You think you're just telling them, well, I chose not to take the COVID shot. Did you know there's a diagnostic code that he can write on your chart that for the rest of your life will chase you that you chose not to take the COVID shot? They also ask you questions about guns in the home. Now, there's no diagnostic code for that yet. And they couch it under public safety and all of that. But I don't want to be giving those answers to people who ultimately are working for the government. And by the way, it pains me to say this. I've been a doctor all my life. My dad was a doctor. I think that medicine can be one of the most noble ways one spends one's life. But doctors have essentially become government employees serving the government master. And you don't know what the doctor's writing down that can chase you for all the rest of your life in your records.
Can I
And
ask you a question now that we brought that up, because you're also a JD, right? I mean, that is something that is an ad that has an adverse effect on patients, not only in regards to their relationship with future doctors that they may sign up with, but also with insurance companies. They may be considered a risk. Has anyone actually examined the legal angle of suing them for causing them harm? Because this is key, right? Because this is important, because it's kind of like your financial institution. If you're like writing bad checks, right? And then you go to another bank, they're going to be like, yeah, but I'm not going to give you an account that write checks. Well, this way, if you change your doctor and they're like, well, you don't listen to the government. So, oh,
yeah.
your insurance just went up because you don't listen to the government.
So so far, it has not translated into changed premium rates. But of course, it could go there. I have no interest in being in a government database that documents if I chose not to take a shot or I choose to keep firearms in my home. I have no interest in going there. Thank you, no thank you. I will go to another doctor from whom I can get useful information, prescriptions if I should need it, tests if I should need it, but that paperwork does not go back to the government. When you are everybody's heard the word HIPAA compliant. HIPAA compliant you think of as wonderful security of your charts, and the truth is it is very secure. However, it gives the government privileges over your paperwork, and we don't do that. We don't comply with the government's nosing about on medical records. So the system cannot be fixed. I would not participate in the system. And therefore, we've built a system now where other people, if they want access to good doctors, good information, but not government intrusion or government oversight, welcome to goldcare.com.
Oh my gosh. And I have a question, one more. For those that are subscribed with Gold Care and they're asking prescriptions, are they mail-in prescriptions or do you just
A
uh,
couple of things. We have made it so user friendly. We have partnered with what I call freedom pharmacies, independent pharmacies, because those are the only people who, for example, gave ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine during the COVID years. So our default position are these freedom pharmacies and they mail you the medicine, but you also have the option to pick your local pharmacy right near you. So right when you sign up, you're asked to designate the pharmacy that you want. So that's it. If you want to go to the local chain pharmacy right near your house, fine. If you we would like you to go to the freedom pharmacies, but we don't force it because we're all about freedom. So we show you which one of the freedom pharmacies. So you can mail it to your home or you can go to your local drugstore, whatever suits you.
so the Freedom Pharmacy can mail it to me. So if I'm like,
Totally.
if I'm in Cleveland where I am, and the closest Freedom Pharmacy to me is like in Columbus, they can mail it to me.
So I don't know about the closest one to you, but the one we have one that does mail order all across the nation. But
Oh,
it's worth you finding out. Like when you go, when now that you've signed up, just go pick your pharmacy and find that one. That could be your default pharmacy, and they can mail it to you. But if, for example, they don't do if that particular one doesn't do mail order, ours does. So you could
wait
check.
a minute, stop the press. You're saying that not only do you have Freedom Pharmacies at your network with, but you actually have a central nerve hub, let's say,
Yeah,
that goes nationwide that sends prescriptions.
correct. That's
Okay.
the beauty
How
of
did
it.
I not make that connect when I was on the site?
You actually you don't have to like we've literally made it easy for you. It's just that we know that one of the choke points is information. So we've solved that at Gold Care. You get the information, right? But another huge choke point is access to medication. So we've solved that as well. That's actually, in my opinion, more of a problem than the information problem. Is making sure we have access to the medicines themselves. It's very important that all of us really do try to support the independent chain pharmacists because they are absolutely trying to get squeezed out year after year after year by the CVSs and the Walgreens. CVS was horrific. I'll never give them my business. During COVID years, CVS absolutely would not give out hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin to people, and they interfered with the practice of medicine. I don't think you should use them. I don't think you should go to them. But along these lines, I also want people to have these medicines in their home before they need them. So we also do appointments for people and we give them the viral pack. Like you can make an appointment, you see the doctor, they explain the medicines, and then we mail you a viral pack. You have hydroxychloroquine, you have ivermectin at home. We also do the same thing for antibiotics. I'd like you to have them in your home. Now, when you have them in your home, I don't think you should use them unless you need them. How do you know if you need them? You do another 15-minute appointment so you can get the advice. But there's no longer that choke point of will the pharmacy give me the medicine? And also, you have peace of mind. Really, you are sick, you're home. Who wants to go out? You already have the meds at home. So we flip everything upside down. You don't have to go begging the doctor. The doctor's no longer restricting you. We're loosening it up, we're having you prepared, and then giving you that information to use when you need it. It's just amazing. It's the way it should be.
I find that fantastic. I mean, I thought that it was just a network of pharmacies. That's why I asked that question. See, I'm in Cleveland. What if the nearest one is Columbus? And you're like, no, we have we have one that just mails it everywhere. That's even better because, like you said, access to medications is difficult too. And on top of that, I just wanted to tell you at CVS, I was actually aware. It was 9 years ago. They contracted with CMS, so they're pretty much a government pharmacy, right?
Yeah.
So they go by CMS rules and they're horrific. And the alternative, their generic medications, you don't even know where they're coming from. They used to say, they're coming from Teva Pharmaceuticals or whatever, you would know. Now it's just like they don't even have to tell you. And most of them are just mail order and they really don't have to tell you what's in it. So you don't even know what you're getting. And the doctors, even though they're advocating for their patients, then they're like category 4, like um, brand names, or else you get the garbage, which is generic, and some of it is just all filler. It's not even medication. Like this is good. And these independent pharmacies, like you've been saying, is very important because they take care of their stock. They make sure that they know where they're sourced from. They're not just a generic, bundle of drugs.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I mean,
And so what else are we expecting from like gold care? I mean, we've got everything right now, but where is the future of gold care going?
So the future, first of all, I think people should drop their health insurance. If you're ready to do that, we teach you how to do that in a responsible way. I don't really have time to talk about it tonight, but I've been off health insurance for more than 10 years. The health insurance industry is essentially a racket. It charges you a fortune. It does not really give you financial safety. It definitely does not give you freedom to make your own medical choices. So if you're ready to let that go, save money, more freedom, we teach you how to do that. We have a class that's on our, we have a class every week on it, on leaving insurance. We have everything you need. I mean, if you need a prescription or you need an X-ray or a lab test, we have all that taken care of. But it's better than that, because let's say we actually don't want people to go to doctors if they don't need doctors. A lot of what people need are not medical doctors. People often need like a lifestyle change. They have to eat better, they have to exercise more. So we have coaches too. We have lifestyle and fitness coaches. We have weight loss classes. We have faith classes. Every Wednesday is one of our most popular classes. We have a spiritual class, because to stay healthy, we're mind, body, and soul. It's all connected. So we do all that. And I just love that we do the naturopathic and the traditional medical doctor together. So we have a lot of, for example, women's health doctors, but some of them are naturopaths and some of them are medical doctors. And I love, they don't feel competitive with each other. You know what I mean? Like a woman, maybe she's going through menopause and she wants to understand all of it. So why not go to a medical doctor and a naturopathic doctor and hear both of their perspectives? I mean, it's just an amazing thing. This just doesn't exist in the outside world.
No, it does not. It does not. It does not, because you're talking to me now, in the age of 47. That's exactly what I was having a conversation about yesterday. Like, when it comes to it, how do you pick the right doctor? How can you talk to multiple people to find out what the best solution for you is as a woman when you get into that,
It's a big
space?
issue. It's a
Yeah,
big
it is.
issue, and we've solved it. We've literally solved it. So you should go and you should make an appointment with both of them. Like, I mean, there's multiple, but like both a medical and a naturopath, and just see what resonates with you. I mean, maybe it's not right now, maybe it's 3 years from now,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's not right now, but that was a discussion that I
yeah,
was having, and I was like, you just go there and they're like, "Do this." Other people are online buying creams and stuff. These are really important things,
yeah,
and, that's fantastic. So,
it's
y'all
great.
ladies,
It's
that
very
conversation,
exciting.
that's fantastic. So the future is just expanding basically right now.
We honestly, I think it's so important to join Gold Care. There isn't anybody that does this. There isn't anybody that gives you the medical freedom, the education, the information, totally empowers you. And we always do like hot subjects. So again, last week we did Ozempic. Like a month before that, we did bird flu. We do like alternative cancer treatments. I'm sorry about that ding. I forgot to turn it
It's
off.
okay, that's me every day, so you're fine.
Alternative cancer treatments. We do the childhood vaccine schedule. Like, all the subjects that you're like, I just want to know XYZ, right? We've got it. We have a library. If once you're a member, you could go back and watch any of the other old classes before. It's
Can I
really
ask
beautiful.
can I ask something though? Vaccines, because you said. So,
Yeah,
like, for me, my niece, when I signed her up, the BSN got to me and she's like, "She hasn't done this or this or this." Unnecessary things, you know, elective things. And I was just like, because she's not doing it. And so, for parents that are taking their kids to school that are still digging their heels in on vaccinations that they refuse
yeah.
to give their children, is there guidance for that for those
Okay,
parents?
so
I know I have a lot of moms and dads that, yeah.
when you go to the homepage on Gold Care and you go, if you click under appointments, one of the appointments you can set up, it's so complicated. So we have a whole package set up about, it's called vaccine exemption package, I think it's called. And you actually need 3 appointments, and we've set the whole thing up for one price, where you have to talk to 3 different people. There's a legal nurse who can go over the rules in your state. There's the pediatrician who can go over all the vaccines with you one by one. And then if you need like an exemption and your state permits it, then we walk you through it with the spiritual counselor. So it's complicated. It's individual for each person in each state. Now there's 5 states in our nation that you cannot do a vaccine exemption. It's just by law. It's impossible. But except for those 5 states, we walk everybody through it in the other 45 states. So yes,
That's fantastic.
it's a complicated area. We do everything completely legally, but we will teach you everything you need to know for your situation. I don't know anybody else who does that. That took
Yeah,
a
you
lot of
can't see all the chats, but everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I need this."
yeah.
Everyone is saying like,
And
"It
I want you to know from the
want
bottom of my heart, we worked very hard to bring this to you. Like, I want you to come. We have doctors and nurses that really want to help human beings. That's how doctors and nurses are oriented. That's why we went into this field. So to put this together in a way that can help every single person, can I get a vaccine? Should I get this? What do you think about the chickenpox? What do you think about meningococcemia, vaccine, the pneumococcs, the shingles, whatever it is? You've got questions, we've got answers, and we wrap it up in a bow for you and we teach you what you need to know in your state. If because a lot of people either don't know or are really proselytizing. You'll have school nurses or school, administrators who think that you have to have shots, but you actually don't have to have a shot. Even in Florida, they tell you that, oh, you have to have these shots. You actually don't. It is not Florida law. So we teach you in your state what you need, and we're not ideological. So we're not telling you to do the shot or not do the shot. We will literally run through it with you. So it's beautiful. Everyone should sign up for
I
it.
wanna ask you, I know that you have to go, so I have one last question because it's a common theme across all platforms, which you can't even see here because for some reason they're not populating everything. She said, "But what if you cancel your insurance and then need surgery later on? Like,
100%.
hospital and surgeon charges could cripple you financially. What do you do?"
100%. Do I look like an irresponsible person? The answer is no. I went to medical school and law school. We don't want you to be irresponsible. We don't want you not to have a financial safety net. Okay, we teach you how to leave health insurance responsibly. Do not go and cancel your health insurance tonight. What you need is you go become a Gold Care member. It's literally $10. Once you're on the site, watch our video on insurance. That will start teaching you how you can do it. If it interests you, make a free appointment with our insurance specialist and he will walk you through it. There's virtually never a situation where switching isn't cheaper and better. The only time it's not better, cheaper and better, for example, let's say you have Medicare, right? We urge you to keep your Medicare and use Gold Care as a second opinion. But if you're paying for private insurance, we've got a better way. And just remember, Dr. Gold has not had health insurance for 10 years. Long before COVID, I knew that there was something better. We use what's called health shares. So you have that financial safety net. We'll walk you through it. We'll teach you how to do it.
That's fantastic because then that also teaches people, how to be more smart with their money. I'm assuming it's like HSA stuff. Um, okay.
Yeah.
She's got very little time. They're like, "What about dental?"
No,
Everyone's like, "No dental."
we can't go there yet. Dental, other, yeah, yeah.
And there's no dental. I actually look for that too. You guys, the dentists go to school and they have like the biggest debt, and so their prices are just insane because they're
But let me say one thing. And also we're still virtual, so it would be pretty tough to have offer dental, right? But we do have a biological dentist who can consult with you. Now, some people are very interested in that. They want to know about the amalgam in their teeth. If that's something you're interested in, we do actually have a biological dentist. So it's the kind of person you could get a second opinion from. So I shouldn't have said no so quickly. We are all about giving you information that you can act on in your life.
okay. That's fantastic. So this book, when are we expecting it?
I think it's next month. It's February or March, and it's called Selective Persecution: The Legalization of American Fascism. And it's my J6 story. And I wrote it to read like a legal thriller. It's quite something. And
I'm
I
I'm
promise to come back.
I'm really, really excited. I can't wait to read it.
It's,
Honestly, because when it's from a first person perspective, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to thank you for creating Gold Care and for advocating for people and actually being put through the ringer, possibly because you're advocating for people, right? Obviously, you're like number one target. And so, you know, you have educated so many people already. My listeners, when they email me, they're like, "Thank you for Gold Care. I still have insurance for my work, but this is so much better because I feel more knowledgeable when I go to my doctors that are paid for because I have, an injury." Like one of my listeners, they're an amputee, right? So it's very complicated, but they were able to get a lot of education on the site and information. And they're like, okay, now I know why I don't want this or why I might want this. And so I feel comfortable in saying, I'm not going to do this because I'll probably try a course of this instead. And one of them actually got back to me a couple weeks ago and said, my doctor was actually very impressed and said, I don't expect people that use Google to do this. And she actually responded and said, you should sign up for Gold Care and maybe provide advice since you're a doctor that listens. Maybe you might be a doctor that provides information. So I want
Yeah.
to say thank you on behalf of all the people that have communicated to me. Um,
Thank you.
I signed up too.
That
And
warms by the way, that warms my heart. I want people to go into their lives and their doctor, if they need some medicine, virtually, not virtually, but in person in their community. I want them to go and educate and armed with information. Patients are being fooled intentionally and unintentionally by doctors. So this is your body, this is your health, this is your one body you're going to have all your life. So go in as an informed consumer. Just you wouldn't buy a house without doing an inspection. You wouldn't go into a court case without understanding what the lawyer's doing, right, for your situation. But we are so blind when it comes to the medical. We've just all had, oh, the doctor said this. No, 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 no. You need to be smart about it. And we're so happy to help you on that.
yeah, because it cuts your costs too.
So much.
I think the first time that you came on, I told you I found something like this for pets. I think it's called Fetch. Why not pay, $10 a month per se. I think it's less than that for pets. But you see the vet, they see your pet rather than you go and pay $3,000 for a visit. They can tell you what's going on. And in this case, you're the patient. Your health is priceless. No money can buy your health. That's fact. I asked Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
He had all the money in the world and he couldn't buy health. So health is extremely priceless. And so it's important that when we make decisions and we go forward and when we're in a position of being ill, that we have informed consent. So if anything, for all of you that are like, well, what if I have surgery or I have all these things and I need my insurance because it's going to cripple me financially? Well, at least you'll have informed consent. This way you have a second opinion on tap.
And again, you need a financial safety net. I'm not advocating going without a financial safety net, but I am advocating going without insurance. And if you think those are opposites, come join Gold Care. We'll teach you exactly how to leave insurance behind and have a better financial safety net.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, Dr. Gold, thank you so much for coming. Um,
Thank you.
I don't know if you're going to be in Washington, D.C. because it's kind of traumatic next week, but I
I'm
hope
actually not going to be there.
yeah, I was hoping that I can catch a coffee with you and see you. Um,
Have
I
a good
really,
time. It's going to be great, I'm sure.
it's going to be fun. It's going to be nice and cold too. So
It will
um,
be.
I'll have my mittens on. Um, I really appreciate you and thank you for coming on. I know you're in a hurry because you got to skedaddle and do whatever, but I'll probably have John on later. I
Well,
think
I'm
he
not
had
sure. I thought he was going to join us, but
I thought it was like I think he thinks Central Time, so that's kind of okay. This
Mm,
is even better because then we get to talk more about it from his perspective too, which is
yeah,
even better,
yeah.
because I wanted to talk healthcare with him. We all understand how important healthcare is. We all understand how being informed when we make decisions is, and we all understand how sometimes we just want to have access to a doctor that is not paid by the hospital, is not pressed for time, and won't make us sit in the waiting room for 2 hours and listen to us. So I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited for the future of Gold Care and how it can expand. And like you said, for those of you out there that pay insurance, I personally, it's $2,000 a month. Imagine if I could save that, you know?
So you need to check it out. Go watch the
Mhm.
insurance class, and if it makes sense to you, make an appointment with Eric, and he'll walk you through it. And he'll go through your numbers exactly, and he'll tell you what the price is, and he'll walk through your exact situation, and you'll be
Yeah, we know that President Trump is trying to go into price transparency, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be a lot more different. The face of healthcare will be changing too
thank
very
God
soon. And Gold Care is actually setting the standard on how it should be. So thank you for that. We appreciate you.
so much. Have a
Thank you.
beautiful night.
Have a great evening. Thank you, Dr. Gold.